Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we are plunging into the fascinating, sometimes really quite bizarre world of subterranean evolution,
Mm,
looking at how life beneath the waves
yeah.
has taken these paths that are just, well, totally novel compared to what we see on land. We've got a great set of sources today, really focusing on the incredible ingenuity of ocean life.
That's absolutely right. And our mission really is to pull out the most surprising insights from all this material. We're essentially mapping out, three major frontiers in ocean biology.
Yeah,
First, there's the, frankly, shocking evolution of extreme intelligence in forms you just wouldn't expect.
right.
Second, these epic survival journeys, the sheer scale of travel some creatures undertake, and finally, the specialized evolutionary arms race that really defines survival down there. Think deadly toxins, bioelectricity, clever mechanics.
And to kick things off, to really anchor this deep dive, we have to start with a creature that is, the definition of an evolutionary outlier. It's mysterious, it's a shapeshifter, it predates the dinosaurs, and it forces us to completely rethink intelligence. We're talking about the octopus.
The octopus is perfect, yeah, because it's just profoundly alien to us. Think about what it can do. Instant camouflage, shape-shifting, squeezing through a hole the size of its eyeball.
Incredible.
But the real puzzle, the paradox, is its mind. It seems to operate by completely different rules than, say, mammalian intelligence.
Okay, let's unpack that intelligence paradox. Because, in humans, primates, even smart birds, high intelligence almost always develops alongside two things. Long lifespans, time to learn, pass things on, and complex social structure.
Exactly. The octopus has neither.
Yeah.
And the evolutionary distance, it's immense. The sources remind us our last common ancestor, basically a flatworm.
A flatworm.
Yeah. Despite that huge gap, the octopus shows real complex cognition. But it's almost always solitary and, tragically short-lived. A mother octopus typically dies right after her young hatch.
So every single thing they do.
Every complex hunting strategy, every clever defense, it's all self-taught, often in a lifespan of just a year or two. It's astonishing.
It really is how fast they seem to pick things up and synthesize new information. The sources say they're basically hardwired for learning from day one. They start, the size of a grain of rice?
A grain of rice, yeah.
Yeah.
And can grow into something huge like
Yeah.
the giant Pacific octopus. And biologically, their whole setup is unique. That nervous system is highly distributed. 2/3 of the neurons are actually in the arms.
So like 9 semi-autonomous brains working together.
In a way, yeah. And if you look at sheer capacity, proportionally, they have 3 times more potential for critical brain connections neurons than we do. It's incredibly condensed intelligence.
It's okay, but the detail about their biology that just blows my mind and challenges our basic ideas about sight is their color vision.
Yeah.
They're masters of camouflage, we know that.
Yeah.
But they only have one type of photoreceptor opsin, which usually means colorblind, right? Just seeing light intensity.
Typically, yes.
So how on earth do they instantly match the complex colors of a coral reef?
This is where their evolution gets really ingenious. They are not colorblind, but they figure out color using this physical trick. They exploit something called chromatic aberration.
Okay, explain that.
Chromatic aberration is basically when different colors, different wavelengths of light don't focus at the exact same point through a lens. It's usually seen as a flaw in optics.
Right, like fuzzy edges in photos sometimes.
Exactly. So the octopus, it constantly changes the shape and size of its pupil. It can go from a tiny pinhole to a dumbbell shape, even a W shape. And it adjusts the focal length of its lens.
Okay.
By doing this, it brings different wavelengths, different colors into focus one after the other. It's essentially scanning the light's spectral properties. They're physically inferring color by measuring how much chromatic aberration there is at different focus points.
So they're using a physical property of light itself to deduce color instead of having different chemical receptors like we do.
Precisely. It's a completely non-human, non-mammalian solution to a complex visual problem. It turns an optical bug into a feature.
Wow. That really tells you something about the kind of mind we're dealing with here.
Yeah.
And this intelligence, it goes way beyond just seeing things. It shows up as like complex tool use and even future planning.
Yeah, future planning is often seen as, the gold standard of high cognition, usually limited to species like us, maybe some apes, clever birds like crows, species that need to plan for long-term survival.
And the octopus doesn't really fit that mold.
Not at all. But look at the coconut octopus. The sources documented fantastic examples. First, using its siphon the water jet to leaf blow sand out of a coconut shell to make a shelter. That's clear tool use. Only about 0.1% of animal species do that.
Okay, using an object to solve an immediate problem.
Right. But the future planning part is what really elevates it. There's that amazing video of a female octopus carrying not just one, but two halves of a clamshell.
Right, I remember seeing that. They looked really awkward to carry.
Exactly. Bulky, slows her down. But she carries them for quite a distance. Why? She's carrying a portable shelter or maybe a shield for later use.
So she anticipates needing it down the line.
Yes. She understands that these two weird shapes fit together to make something useful. She anticipates a future need defense, concealment, and prepares for it now, even though it costs her energy and speed in the present. That takes anticipation, abstraction, real thinking ahead.
And considering they have no parents teaching them, that speed of learning is just nuts.
Oh.
Like the example of the young island octopus hunting Sally Lightfoot crabs.
Oh, that's a fantastic case study. This is a juvenile, maybe 6 months old, deciding to take the ultimate risk. It leaves the safety of its tide pool entirely to hunt on land.
On land, for an octopus, that's dangerous.
Hugely dangerous. It's a high-stakes timed mission. The crab is fast. It's on its home turf.
Yeah.
The octopus has maybe 20 minutes before its gills dry out and it dies.
20 minutes, okay.
So first, the physical adaptation. Its eye muscles have to literally change the shape of the lens so it can focus clearly out of the water. Aquatic eyes aren't built for that.
Okay. Adjust its vision for air? What else?
Then the strategy. This involves some serious environmental engineering for an octopus. The sources describe it deliberately moving rocks around near where the crabs are.
Moving rocks. Why?
To create the perfect ambush spot. It's essentially building its own custom hiding place on the fly.
Wow. Okay, so rapid physical adjustment, the eyes combined with manipulating the environment, the rocks, to pull off a totally new hunting technique?
Yeah.
All self-taught.
It shows an incredible ability to model reality, predict outcomes, and learn incredibly fast. And they're always adapting. Think about the giant Pacific octopus. Starts as a grain of rice, needs to eat constantly to grow. Researchers watched them switch tactics. Instead of just searching endlessly for crabs, they learned it was more efficient to flush the crabs out of hiding, force them into the open, and then ambush them much quicker.
So if they learn so much so quickly, how do they, hold on to all that information in such a short life?
Yeah.
Which brings us to their sleep. They spend, what, 60% of their time
A
sleeping?
huge chunk of time, yeah. Which strongly suggests sleep is incredibly important for processing all this learning. And we see two distinct phases.
Right.
There's a long period of quiet sleep. The octopus is pale, still, deep sleep, basically.
Okay.
And then suddenly it shifts into this active phase. It looks remarkably like REM sleep in mammals and birds.
That's the phase where they do the crazy color changes, right?
Yeah.
Skin flashing through patterns, arms twitching.
Exactly. Rapid, vibrant color changes, subtle movements of the mantle, arms, suckers. It's mesmerizing to watch.
So what's happening there?
Well, the strong hypothesis among scientists is memory consolidation. Just like our brains process the day's events during REM sleep, the octopus is likely hardwiring new information, like the scent profile of that dangerous eel it encountered, or the successful path it found through a complex reef, or maybe that new crab flushing technique that worked so well. They navigate using this incredibly detailed, multisensory GPS mental maps, built not just on sight, but also touch, proprioception, even taste.
So those flashing colors,
Yeah.
you have to wonder, are they just consolidating data, or are they actually experiencing visual, vivid dreams?
It's a fascinating question, isn't it? Are they dreaming about us watching them? Or maybe about that mantis shrimp that gave them trouble?
Ah, yes, the mantis shrimp standoff. That really showed creativity under pressure, didn't it? That's maybe the peak of their intelligence described in the sources.
It's a fantastic example because it forces the octopus beyond its standard playbook. The mantis shrimp, it's small, but it's a pocket battleship. Highly territorial.
And that punch,
Yeah.
faster than a bullet apparently,
Yeah.
can break aquarium glass.
Exactly. If an octopus gets hit by that, it's serious trouble. So the octopus first tries the usual trick, blasting the shrimp with a jet of water to move it.
Doesn't work.
Fails completely. And then comes the creative solution, something apparently never filmed before. The octopus picks up the very things it uses for shelter those clamshell halves.
The ones it carried earlier.
Possibly similar ones, yeah. And it repurposes them instantly as a shield, actively holds them up, uses them defensively against the attacking shrimp until the shrimp backs off.
Okay, wait. Repurposing a tool, inventing a defense on the spot, understanding the physical properties of the shells as protection. That's not just learned behavior.
Yeah.
That's innovation.
Complex innovation, absolutely. Which leads us to think about their social lives, or lack thereof. The traditional view was always solitary octopuses.
Right.
But then you have the discoveries of Octopolis and Oclantis. These are areas, basically dense patches of debris on the seabed, where researchers found octopuses living much closer together than expected.
So, not solitary after all. What were they doing? Just sharing space.
It seems like more than that. It's a mix, but it suggests they're far less strictly asocial than we thought. They were seen engaging in what looked like formalized communication using specific color signals for things like aggression or submission.
Wow.
And they had structured confrontations over dens, over resources. They were using the limited hard materials available, shells, bottles, whatever, for shared defensive structures, almost like little octopus neighborhoods.
So, maybe not civilization as we think of it, but definitely signs of complex interaction, communication, maybe even community living.
It certainly challenges that core assumption that high intelligence must go hand in hand with long lives and complex social hierarchies. The octopus is just different. It's rewriting the rules as we watch.
Okay, let's shift gears now from that incredibly condensed, almost alien intelligence of the octopus. Let's look at the sheer epic scale of movement in the ocean, these great travelers. Creatures relying on instincts honed over millennia, undertaking migrations that are just. Heroic feats of navigation and endurance, all for survival.
And we have to start with the humpback whale odyssey. This is arguably one of the most massive, most taxing journeys in the entire animal kingdom.
How far are we talking?
3,000 miles. From the freezing, food-rich waters of Alaska, their feeding grounds, all the way down to the warm, relatively predator-free waters around Hawaii. That's their birthing sanctuary.
3,000 miles. And the sources really capture how intense this is, especially for the females. They arrive exhausted, pregnant.
Carrying a huge nutritional burden, yeah. And they're immediately thrown into this chaotic scene called the heat run.
The heat run.
Yeah, where these huge 30-ton males are battling fiercely, sometimes for days, competing for mating rights. The energy they expend is just staggering.
But then, the sources say, once the calf is born, there's this sudden shift.
An immediate shift from
Yeah.
combat to collective defense. Often the main escort male, the one who likely won the mating rights, will initiate protective maneuvers, like blowing these large curtains of bubble. Yeah, like a temporary screen. It gives the mother, who's understandably cautious, a moment of peace, a bit of cover, to welcome her very vulnerable newborn. It's this immediate, almost altruistic pivot to protecting the community's future.
And the stakes for that calf are incredibly high, right? It's born huge like a 2-ton toddler. But the adults aren't really eating in Hawaii.
Exactly. The mother is essentially starving herself, living off her blubber reserves, to produce this incredibly rich milk for the calf. The calf has to guzzle like a bathtub full of milk every 5 days.
A bathtub.
And it only has about 5 weeks to gain enough weight, enough blubber, enough strength for the 3,000-mile return journey north to the feeding grounds.
5 weeks, that's a tiny window.
It's critical, unforgiving. Leave Hawaii too soon, the calf doesn't have the reserves for the cold and the long swim. Wait too long, the mother might literally starve to death. It demands perfect timing and perfect navigation.
Which raises the question, how do they navigate so perfectly across thousands of miles of open ocean? There are no signposts down there.
It's like they have this incredible, multi-layered internal GPS. They definitely use the Earth's magnetic field. They can sense variations in its intensity and angle.
Okay, magnetic sense. What else?
They use celestial cues, the sun, the moon, the stars, and crucially, long-term memory. The mother is essentially teaching the calf these invisible highways through the deep ocean. They steer with incredible precision within 1 degree of their target destination over that entire 3,000-mile journey.
Within 1 degree.
Yeah, returning to the exact same bays year after year. It's phenomenal.
And their social bonds seem really strong, too, formed over these huge distances. You mentioned their calls traveling hundreds of miles.
Over 100 miles, yeah. And the sources had that extraordinary story, that anecdote demonstrating real altruism within the group.
The entangled female.
Yes, exactly. This whale was severely caught up in heavy fishing gear. It was wrapped around her tongue, apparently, making it impossible for her to feed properly or even surface easily to breathe. She was starving, struggling. And another whale, a companion, was filmed repeatedly pushing her, lifting this massive, struggling female up to the surface just so she could get air, sustaining her, basically, until help could potentially arrive.
Wow. That's a huge effort. Physically taxing and seemingly just compassionate.
It really seems that way, an extraordinary act of kindness for another member of the community in deep distress. It really underlines that these migrations aren't just individual feats, they're community efforts.
And a reward for making it all the way back to Alaska after that immense journey.
Food. They reunite with the larger community and immediately start using these highly intelligent, cooperative hunting tactics. The famous one is bubble netting.
Explain bubble netting.
A group of whales will swim in these coordinated upward spirals, blowing huge columns of air bubbles as they go. These bubbles rise and form a kind of shimmering, impenetrable net.
A net made of bubbles.
Effectively, yeah. It traps dense schools of fish right in the center. Then the whales surge up through the middle, mouths open, getting a massive mouthful. It allows the whole community to finally feed efficiently and regain all that energy they lost on the long trip south and back.
Incredible cooperation. Okay, so from the massive scale of the whales, let's go to a different kind of journey. The lifelong, decades-long trek of the green turtle, which starts, talk about perilous beginnings.
Oh, absolutely. One of the most dangerous starts imaginable. The mother lays her eggs on the beach, buries them, and leaves. When they hatch, usually at night, these tiny turtles have to make a mad dash for the water.
That everything wants to eat them.
Everything. Shorebirds, crabs. And then if they make it to the water, sharks are waiting. Blacktip reef sharks, especially. The odds are staggering. Maybe only 1 in 1,000 hatchlings survives that initial run.
1 in 1,000.
They're just hardwired, born knowing they have to head towards the brightest light on the horizon, which is usually the moon reflecting off the sea.
And the few lucky ones that make it, they then embark on this huge journey.
A 30-year journey, yeah. The juvenile turtle travels over 1,000 miles out into the open ocean, eventually settling in the Coral Sea, specifically in these vast, vital seagrass meadows.
And this journey, it's not just about the turtle's survival, is it? It has these bigger ecological connections, especially to climate.
That's a really crucial point the sources highlight, and it needs emphasizing. These turtles are essential grazers. By constantly trimming the tops of the seagrass, like underwater lawnmowers,
Oh, yeah.
they actually keep the seagrass beds healthy and thriving. And healthy seagrass beds are environmental powerhouses. They absorb and store carbon dioxide something like 35 times faster than an equivalent area of tropical rainforests.
45 times faster. Wow.
Yeah. So the survival of the green turtle is directly linked to maintaining one of our planet's most effective but often overlooked carbon sinks, a key tool in the climate fight.
So after 30 years out there, grazing, growing, navigating, the mature female returns. How does she find her way back? And not just to the general area, but the sources say the exact same beach where she was born.
Again, it's that incredible mastery of the Earth's magnetic field, combined with what seems to be an inherited instinctive map. She hones in on the precise magnetic signature of that specific stretch of coastline on the Great Barrier Reef, navigating potentially thousands of miles to get back and lay her own clutch of around 100 eggs.
It's this primal, ancient cycle. But it's facing a really serious modern threat now, isn't it? Something unique to our time.
Yes, and it's a deeply worrying one. The temperature-dependent sex determination.
Right. Explain how that works.
For green turtles and many reptiles, the temperature of the sand where the eggs incubate actually determines the sex of the hatchlings. Warmer temperatures produce females, cooler temperatures produce males.
And historically, beaches had a mix of temperatures, so you got a balanced ratio.
Roughly balanced, yeah. But now, because of global warming, many key nesting beaches are consistently getting too hot. The sand is just warmer year after year.
And the result?
The result is skewed sex ratios, dramatically skewed. The sources state that on some critical nesting sites right now, only 1 in every 100 hatchlings emerging is male.
1 in 100. That's not sustainable at all.
Not even close. What happens when the current generation of mature males dies off? If there are virtually no new males being born, the species literally can't reproduce.
Is anything being done? Do the sources mention interventions?
They do. Researchers are actively trying some pretty complex, high-stakes interventions. Things like erecting huge shade structures over nesting sites to try and cool the sand down.
Shade clocks on beaches?
Yeah, and even experimental irrigation systems literally running water over the sand during the hottest parts of the day to try and lower the temperature back into that zone where males can develop.
Wow. That shows how critical the situation is. We're actively trying to manipulate nesting conditions just to ensure there are males.
It really puts the survival of this ancient lineage directly in our hands, driven entirely by the environmental changes we've caused.
Okay, one more epic journey, and this one is about sheer numbers and precise timing. The Christmas Island red crabs.
Ah, yes, an incredible natural spectacle. We're talking about 70 million land-adapted crabs. These guys live in the forest, they're terrestrial.
70 million.
70 million, undertaking this 5-mile trek down to the sea. Why? Because even though they live on land, their babies must start life in saltwater to develop properly. So every year, this mass migration happens.
5 miles doesn't sound like much, but for a crab.
Especially marching sideways, it takes them about 2 weeks. And they face constant threats along the way. Predators, like the huge rubber crab, which is 10 times their size and can crush coconuts.
Whoa.
And historically, traffic was a huge problem, though thankfully the islanders now go to great lengths to protect them during the migration, closing roads, and even building crab bridges.
Good to hear. But the really clever part is the timing.
Right. The timing is everything. It's pure genius, driven by instinct. It's not enough for those 70 million crabs to just get to the beach. They have to arrive precisely for the last quarter moon and the peak high tide.
Why that specific time?
That exact combination of moon phase and tide ensures that when the female releases her 100,000 or so eggs into the water,
100,000 eggs each.
yeah, the receding high tide immediately sweeps the eggs out to sea, away from the shore where predators are waiting. It gives them the best chance. The eggs hatch almost instantly into larvae out in the safety of the open ocean.
It's like this perfectly choreographed mass survival plan, dictated by the moon and the tides.
Beautifully choreographed, exactly. And the cycle completes about 4 weeks later, when the tiny crablings, now developed, return to the shore. They emerge from the water in unimaginable numbers, carpeting the beaches before instinctively scurrying off into the forest to begin their own lives on land.
Okay, now we shift gears completely. We're diving into the deep end of the evolutionary arms race. The ocean as this intense, unforgiving laboratory for biological warfare, where survival hinges on stealth, on electricity, on some incredibly sophisticated chemical and mechanical weapons.
And we have to start with the masters of the hidden and the highly toxic, creatures that have weaponized chemistry.
Yeah.
First up, the tiny but terrifying blue-ringed octopus.
Tiny, right, like golf ball sized.
Barely bigger than a golf ball, yeah. But it carries tetrodotoxin, a potent neurotoxin made by bacteria living in its saliva, enough in one octopus to kill about 26 adult humans.
26. And death could be quick.
Within 90 minutes, potentially. Yeah. The scary part is, normally they're just a dull yellow, almost camouflaged. But when they feel threatened...
Flash those blue rings.
Instantly. Those vibrant neon blue rings flare up. It's an unmistakable warning signal. I am incredibly dangerous. Back off.
Okay, contrast that with something that relies purely on not being seen. The stonefish.
The ultimate ambush predator, yeah. Widely considered the most venomous fish in the world. Not necessarily because the venom itself is the most potent drop-to-drop, but because its camouflage is flawless. It looks exactly like an ordinary rock or a piece of coral rubble on the seafloor.
Completely invisible until you step on it.
Precisely, and that's how it delivers its venom. It has 13 thick, sharp dorsal spines along its back, hidden when it's relaxed. If threatened or stepped on, those spines erect, pierce the skin or even a wetsuit booty, and inject a powerful cocktail of neurotoxins and myotoxins, which destroy tissue. It's purely defensive, passive, but incredibly effective and painful.
Yikes. Okay, then there's the box jellyfish. Not passive at all, right? This one actively hunts.
Yeah, the box jellyfish is a different beast entirely. Highly evolved predator. It actually has eyes, 24 of them, grouped in clusters that it uses to navigate and actively stalk prey, like small fish.
24 eyes. And the venom.
The venom is among the most rapidly acting and deadly chemical cocktails known in nature. It's designed to paralyze prey almost instantly, preventing damage to the jellyfish's delicate tentacles. In humans, the toxins launch this terrifying multi-pronged attack, hitting the heart, the nervous system, and skin cells simultaneously. Victims can die from cardiac arrest, respiratory failure, or even just shock and drowning very, very quickly. It's an overwhelming chemical blitz.
Even seemingly slower animals pack a punch. The banded sea crate. It's a sea snake related to cobras.
And actually more venomous than most land cobras, yeah. They're beautiful snakes adapted for marine life. They hunt primarily eels deep in coral crevices.
How do they manage that? Hunting in tight spaces underwater.
They have this amazing adaptation, an extended lung that runs almost the entire length of their body. It lets them hold their breath for up to 30 minutes while they meticulously probe crevices for eels. When they find one, they deliver a potent bite with neurotoxins and myotoxins to quickly subdue it. Chemical superiority is key for their specialized hunting style.
And the cone snail.
Mhm.
Looks like just a pretty shell, but it's a patient assassin.
Absolutely. The cone snail takes slow and steady lethality to an art form. It hunts fish, often camouflaged ones like blennies. It uses this long, flexible tube called a proboscis,
Okay.
which conceals its weapon, a highly modified hollow tooth that functions like a tiny disposable harpoon.
Ah.
This tooth is loaded with a complex blend of toxins called conotoxins, specifically tailored to paralyze fish instantly.
So it just waits, lines up the shot.
Exactly. Locates a fish, extends the proboscis, fires the venom-tipped harpoon tooth, which often stays embedded. The fish is instantly paralyzed, and then the snail slowly engulfs and digests its prey whole. It's a masterclass in precise, targeted chemical warfare, very different from the box jelly's area effect attack.
Okay, shifting from presence to power. Bioelectricity.
Yeah.
The electric ray or torpedo ray.
Right. These rays use modified muscle tissue, usually from their gills, developed into specialized electric organs. They can generate a decent jolt, typically up to about 50 volts.
What do they use it for?
Mostly stunning small fish or invertebrates on the seabed before eating them. It's also a pretty effective deterrent if a diver or a larger predator gets too close, gives them a nasty shock.
But the real heavyweight champ of bioelectricity, even though it's technically freshwater, is the electric eel, right? It gets mentioned all the time in these discussions.
It really does, because it takes electrobiology to a whole other level. We're talking 600, sometimes up to 700 volts.
700 volts? How?
The sources explain it's through thousands, around 6,000 of specialized cells called electrocytes. These are basically modified muscle or nerve cells, stacked in columns like tiny batteries running along the eel's body. When the eel triggers them, they all discharge in near-perfect synchrony.
Creating this massive shock.
A massive, powerful current, yeah. Enough to stun large prey, deter predators, or even, give a human a very dangerous shock.
And it uses this power for more than just attack, right? It's blind.
Functionally blind, yeah, and it lives in murky South American waters. Plus, it has to come to the surface every 10 minutes or so to gulp air, so it uses its electricity in a more subtle way, too. It constantly emits weak electrical pulses.
Like sonar.
Kind of like an electrical radar, exactly. It senses distortions in the electrical field caused by objects or potential prey nearby. This allows it to see its environment and navigate. When it detects something interesting, then it unleashes the big 700-volt blast to stun or kill. It's a really elegant, electrically engineered solution for living in low visibility.
Amazing. Okay, so when sheer electrical force isn't the evolutionary path, we see these specialized mechanical weapons, like the moray eel's crazy double jaws.
Ah, the pharyngeal jaws. Yes, this is a fantastic example of adaptation driven by habitat. Most fish feed using suction. They rapidly open their mouths, create negative pressure, and suck the prey in.
Right.
But moray eels often hunt in tight, narrow spaces, deep inside reefs or rock crevices. Suction feeding just doesn't work well there. There's no room to create that negative pressure effectively.
So they needed a different way to get food down their throat.
Exactly. So they evolved the second set of jaws, the pharyngeal jaws, located back in their throat. They look kind of alien. The outer jaws grab the prey first,
I bet.
and then these inner jaws shoot forward like something out of the movie Alien, honestly grab onto the prey and physically pull it backwards down the eel's long throat. It's like a built-in grappling hook or conveyor belt system, purely mechanical solution to a physical constraint.
That is unsettlingly cool. Okay, let's look at some ingenious hunters and defenders now, starting with the hammerhead shark. That head shape looks so improbable, but it's actually an evolutionary marvel.
Absolutely a marvel. That wide, flat head, the cephalofoil, serves multiple amazing functions. First, it acts like the wings of an airplane, providing lift and maneuverability. Second, spreading the nostrils wide gives it incredible directional sense of smell, like 3D smelling.
Okay, better smell. What else?
Crucially, the sources emphasize that wide head is the perfect platform for its primary sensory weapon, the ampullae of Lorenzini.
Those are the jelly-filled pores that detect electrical fields, right? Like the eel uses, but maybe more sensitive.
Exactly. All sharks have them, but the hammerhead's wide cephalofoil spreads these electroreceptors out over a much larger area. They can detect incredibly faint electrical fields down to like 100 millionth of a volt. That's the tiny electrical spark from the muscle contraction of a stingray buried under the sand.
So the shape isn't just weird, it turns the head into a high-resolution electrical detector.
Precisely. It gives the shark amazing spatial resolution. It can pinpoint the exact location of hidden prey with uncanny accuracy, which leads directly to its signature hunting move,
The pin and pivot.
the pin and pivot. Hammerheads love to eat stingrays. Once they locate one buried in the sand using their electrosense, they use that big, wide head to physically pin the ray down against the seafloor. This stops the ray from escaping and neutralizes its dangerous tail barb. Then they pivot and take bites. Brutally effective.
Wow. Okay, completely different strategy. The tiny frogfish. Master of camouflage.
The ultimate sit-and-wait predator, yeah. Especially the striated frogfish, sometimes called the hairy frogfish. It blends in perfectly with sponges or algae-covered rocks. It's virtually invisible.
And it doesn't just wait, it actively fishes.
It literally fishes. It has this modified dorsal spine on its head with a fleshy, worm-like bit on the end called an esca. It dangles and twitches this lure right in front of its mouth.
Like a fishing rod.
Exactly like a fishing rod and bait. An unsuspecting small fish comes to investigate the worm, gets too close, and snap, the frogfish has one of the fastest predatory strikes known. Inhales the prey whole. Incredible specialization.
And another fish using a specialized tool, the sawfish. Which isn't really a fish, it's a ray.
That's right, it's a type of ray. And its saw, that long, flat rostrum lined with teeth-like denticles, can be huge, as long as a person in large individuals.
What's the saw actually for?
It's dual purpose. Like the hammerhead's head, it's covered in electroreceptors, so it's a massive sensory organ for detecting prey buried in sand or mud.
Okay, sensing and the sawing.
It's also a weapon. The sawfish swims into schools of fish, or over the bottom where prey might be hiding, and delivers these powerful, rapid, side-to-side swipes with the rostrum. It slashes and stuns the prey, making them easy to scoop up and swallow.
Effective. Okay, to wrap up this arms race section, we have to mention possibly the weirdest defense mechanism described. The pearlfish.
Oh, the pearlfish and the sea cucumber.
Yeah.
Yes. Talk about desperate measures in evolution.
What does it do again?
The pearlfish is a small, slender fish. When it gets spooked by a predator, its survival strategy is, well, unique. It finds a sea cucumber. A slow-moving, blobby echinoderm locates its rear end, its cloaca, and it inserts itself tail first into the sea cucumber's respiratory tree, which connects to the intestines. It literally hides inside the guts of another animal for safety.
It lives inside a sea cucumber's butt.
Pretty much. It takes refuge right inside. It just speaks volumes about the intense pressure of predation in the ocean. Life finds a way, however bizarre it might seem to us. It's ridiculous, but it works. #tag outro.
Wow. What an incredible journey through the sheer novelty of ocean evolution today. We've seen everything from the octopus, its super fast, self-taught intelligence, those hints of community.
And the synchronized march of 70 million land crabs driven by ancient rhythms.
Right. To the absolutely awe-inspiring navigation of the humpback whale 3,000 miles guided by magnetism and memory.
And then that deep dive into the evolutionary arms race, the sophisticated chemical weapons of the cone snail and blue-ringed octopus, the overwhelming bioelectricity of the eel, the ingenious mechanics of the moray's hidden jaws, or the hammerhead's sensory array.
These species, often evolving on completely separate tracks from us, or adapting to extreme pressures like the green turtles facing rising sea temperatures, they just prove the ocean is still the ultimate laboratory for life's inventiveness.
It truly is. The crucible where the most novel biological solutions are forged.
So, thinking back to where we started with the octopus and its strange, powerful mind, what's the big takeaway? The sources really push us, don't they? They make us challenge our own definitions of intelligence, maybe even civilization itself.
Absolutely. We saw clear evidence of complex behaviors, tool use, future planning, maybe even rudimentary communication and community building in places like Octopolis. But then you have to consider the constraints.
Right.
Like octopuses are soft-bodied, they don't leave fossils easily. Our understanding of past life relies so heavily on hard parts, bones, shells.
Right. No ruins.
No ruins, and they live such short lives that prevents the slow, generational accumulation of knowledge and technology that marks human civilization building things with lasting materials, passing complex knowledge down over centuries.
So this raises a really provocative final thought for you, our listener, doesn't it? Could we simply be unable to recognize a non-human intelligence or even a form of civilization because it didn't evolve like ours, because it didn't use hard materials or rely on long lifespans?
What if civilization doesn't have to leave monuments of stone and metal? What if a civilization based on incredibly rapid learning, Maybe ephemeral forms of knowledge transfer we can't even conceive of once existed, perhaps among the deep-sea ancestors of the octopus.
A functional, complex, maybe even knowledge-based society that just left no trace because of the nature of their bodies and their fleeting existence.
Exactly. Except perhaps for the echoes we see today and the astounding intelligence of their descendants, are we looking for the wrong kind of evidence, the wrong kind of ruin?
The ocean is definitely still holding its secrets, very close, and it's forcing us to keep our minds wide open to the truly strange and wonderful possibilities of life on this planet. Thank you for diving deep with us today.
Thank you.
We'll see you next time. Welcome.